Thanks a lot, everyone, for joining us at KitPlus. So my name is Fakher, and I am a technology consultant, and my company is called Broadtek. And essentially, we do everything to do with technology, a lot of transformation projects. What I'm here to talk about today is something that we call AVoIPoE. So it's a bit of an acronym, it's a tongue twister of an acronym. And the whole point of this is that we're taking two technologies, which is AV over IP, audio visual over internet protocol, and PoE, power over Ethernet, and we're putting that together to demonstrate the versatility and the functionality of that and how we could apply that to system design, but also from a vendor's perspective and a whole mindset. So what we've tried to do is put together something like a movement, and that movement is getting people to really think about how they're designing, because now circumstances have changed and the way that you design a system is different to the way that you were able to design a system 2 years ago. And part of that is the new technology that's breaking down these boundaries to enable to have more efficient and more sustainable systems. So why is it important? Essentially, why it's important is that AV over IP benefits everyone. So when we're thinking about it as a design methodology, any application with a video source and a video destination, with these AV over IPoE systems, it enables you to save time, save money, and save energy. And the reason that wasn't really in the mindset before is because it was we never had to think about the cost of ownership of a system. We never had to think about before from a perspective, if I'm designing, I'm working with an end user with any type of facility, whether the facility is a broadcast facility, an AV facility, conferencing facility, we never really had to think about how much does it cost to run this system. But now we have to think about those things because energy prices are going up. So obviously, the International Energy Agency, they've estimated that energy is responsible for about 80% of the world's carbon emissions. So the simplest way to kind of tackle that is by reducing the amount of energy that we use in the first place. So it's a relatively easy way to be able to scale down the impact that we have on the climate and the consumption of the energy. So when we're talking about saving energy and how we're going to be able to reduce that energy, that's the whole PoE part of it. And the reason why it's important, when we're also saving time, is because we're running everything using cat cables. So rather than having an electrician having to, let's say you have an overflow. Over here, you might not have built, the entire structure over here, but you don't at the moment have any outlets. Using AV over IPoE design methodology, what you can essentially do is run cat cables. And as long as the power threshold of the products that you're using is within PoE, which is 90 watts currently using PoE, PoE++, even if the product isn't natively PoE, by using a PoE splitter, you can then bring that online and also utilize the same technology. So the benefits are there. And also, it's a lot simpler to be able to install. The reason why it's simple to install is that you don't need that electrician. You don't need to get sign off on that. Anyone can run a cat cable. Obviously, if you know how to, do cat cables, it's a lot better to be able to dress them properly and to be able to do it. But essentially, we're saving a lot of energy because these are all low energy usage. So that was the benefit from the energy perspective. So that power comes from a central and universally compatible source. So you don't need all of these adapters. And if anyone has ever done any sort of system design, they know that the first thing that goes are these silly little adapters that they've got on these units, where the power is usually coming from either a network switch or a PoE injector. That is a reliable source that can then also be managed. So you can remotely manage that. You can customize the amount of energy that you use. You can automate things, when things switch on, when things switch off, all of that whole thing becomes, the whole system then becomes part of one entire system that you can maintain online and have access to remotely. So it can also be, backed up by an uninterruptible power supply. So you can quickly disable or reset devices, and that makes the installation and the distribution of the network connections simple and really effective. So when we're talking about the design element and design aspect of AV over IPoE and why it's so much simpler than traditional ways of designing things, you have to take into account that the traditional ways usually required you to use proprietary equipment. So let's say you wanted to have scaling or switching or whatever you wanted to do, you needed a little box to be able to do that. But you don't need that now because everything is coming through with software-defined solutions. So when you're using AV over IPoE as a design methodology, you're really using a system of transmitters and encoders and decoders to be able to do that. And you don't need all the other elements because it's all done through software. And with software, with a firmware update, you can completely change the functionality of a product. So that means that you can, do things quicker. Manufacturers can also do things and be able to, actually act on the information that they're given on the field and go, right, I'm going to incorporate that into my roadmap. And within a few months, they can implement something that they've heard at a trade show or an exhibition like this, because they heard that, got that feedback from a technical professional, they thought it was a good idea, they can incorporate it by coding it in, and within a few months they've tested it and they're able to implement that. These are all the benefits of using this, this way of thinking from a design perspective and from a vendor's perspective. So also the maintenance is quicker and it's more flexible. And when we're talking about maintenance, let's say you're a system integrator and you're at a facility like this or other facilities, educational facility, commercial facility, the things that you can do today by being able to do remote production, remote maintenance, those aspects of, someone accidentally taking off an HDMI cable or a CAT cable out of the system can easily be diagnosed and can be acted on. You don't then need to have lots and lots of staff that has to go out on site because you've got site on diagnostics, you've got all of this information at your hand so that you can respond to them effectively, and it saves you a lot more money to be able to do that. And again, another benefit of this type of thinking. So there's less waiting around, as we said, when we're talking about doing these projects, because the building inspectors don't need to sign off on those new projects. You're also saving money on those materials that we're talking about. Earlier on I mentioned, using this proprietary way of designing systems. When you're doing that, you've got all this dedicated hardware. You don't need that dedicated hardware. So you're cutting energy bills and reducing carbon footprint in that way as well. So one of the other great benefits is this flexibility that it gives you. So wherever you are, wherever the system is, so when we're talking about this being on a network, it could be a wired network or a wireless network, wherever the network goes, the system goes with you. So you're not bound to, let's say, you're doing some remote location work, that's okay. Companies like LiveView, they've provided solutions out there that enable you to not rely on, let's say, a building's Wi-Fi network, or you don't rely on anything because they've got long battery life for their products. That these things all take into things that you have to take into consideration when you're doing live event productions. So when we're talking about that flexibility, you're also looking at that space. That space, especially when we're talking about education facilities or commercial facilities, can often change. You can have one layout 1 minute and another layout another minute. That flexibility enables you to do exactly that. That flexibility enables you to completely change the way that you set up a solution or you set up a room. It could be a conference room 1 minute, it could be a lecture theatre another minute, it could be rehearsal studios the next. none of that really matters, because what you can do is you've just got that flexibility. You're not constantly going out and taking this kind of different things that you've got, because everything is run through the software, and then that system of encoders and decoders, as well as a network switch and the network that you're doing, enables you to do that. So this type of methodology is really, really important when we're talking about the new age of technologies that are coming around. We're talking about big data, Industry 4.0, IoT, computing, anything that's smart technology. So the reason why that's important is because modern organizations, they grapple with these two worlds. You've got the physical world and you've got the digital world. And a lot of the times these two worlds have occupied completely separate domains. And they've shared really not a lot of meaningful data in between them. With this type of methodology, the amount of data and information that you can get with things like sensors that you can use, an office building. So this is actually happening right now. There are office buildings that are using sensors, and they're using the data that they're getting from their sensors to be able to design the room in a way that they know about the occupation of those rooms and how to set up those rooms so that it could be more efficiently used, and they're able to do the things that they need to do to get better results from what they're doing, because they're getting that information, as I mentioned before, about diagnostics information that's out there, and also security. There are so many different things that can all then be incorporated into that. It's meaningful data, and it enables you to be able to map out. It gives you business intelligence, and that's something that we've really never had before. That level of intelligence, so that we can incorporate that into our business strategies. So a lot of facilities can be able to use that. It's the same with the broadcast studio, whatever. All of these things are very relevant, and it's important to be able to take into account, because we've got the technology now. How do we work that into a solution that makes it workable in our day-to-day life, so that our workflows are streamlined and we end up having like a single uniform environment, so that we're taking the best worlds of the digital world and applying it to the real world, so that it's everyone's better off for it. So one of the other aspects, I said it, from a design perspective, I've been talking about that a lot. But there's also another aspect of it, and that's really to do with what we're talking about, creating this community of people. So if you're a manufacturer of products, a lot of times, me as a consultant, when I'm talking to my customers, I'm talking to my clients, I'm speaking to them about a solution. Always I focus on what their problems are and how I can solve those problems. I never talk about just one part of that problem. If someone's got an issue, I never just talk about, what's the audio aspect. I always talk about the entire thing. It's holistic. So you talk about a complete end-to-end solution. But a manufacturer, let's say you're an audio manufacturer, you're only talking about that part of the solution. So that mindset that we're talking about on an AV over IPOE mindset, it's a mindset that enables you to have that collaboration piece, because that's where the real power comes into it. Because you're collaborating with these other vendors that might give you insight into a different vertical that you won't have any sight of. So when you're an audio manufacturer, you might want to be working with a video manufacturer or a display manufacturer or a signal distribution manufacturer, because what you're doing together as a collective, you're one part of a bigger solution. And when you're working together, you're able to verify one another's products, because ultimately this is going to give confidence to the end user, confidence to the system integrator, confidence to the consultant that's going to specify these products. So if I know that this product works out of the box with that product, because interoperability is essentially the nirvana that we want to get to, then it breeds that confidence throughout. So I'm going to use these network switches from Netgear. Why? Because they've got these profiles here that make it so much easier, so that the system integrator doesn't need to necessarily understand in that much depth about network infrastructure, because they make it easy for them. And I've got a profile setting here that if I want to use NDI or I want to use a bit of Dante, I can literally go there. They've made it idiot-proof. And, ultimately, that's what we want to do. We want to educate people so that they can come onto the domain of using IP in a way to understand that what are the benefits of it and look how easy it can be. And that's when you've got that, because that collaboration piece happens. Netgear wouldn't have been able to build those profiles without the collaboration of all of those other vendors. Audio, video, everything else that goes, control, everything else that goes in between, they were able to do that because of that collaboration piece. And that's really important part of the mindset of having an AV over IPoE mindset. So what we've done is we've created a showcase, and in our showcase we've created this multi-vendor example. And what we've done is focus on two areas. Every event that we do, we try to adapt that to show a different application in a different vertical. Today we're showing an e-gaming with a simulator rig over there and commentary. So we've got Glenn Sound providing these specialist units for e-gaming commentary. We've got the guys with the e-gaming rigs, and we've got Dante AV. We've created that, and the reason why we can do that is because rather than thinking about these things as sending audio, video, and data signals, all we're doing is sending packets of data over a network. So if you think of it like that, all of these different codecs can sit on the same network if you wanted to design it in that way. Or you have the specific reason that you wanted just NDI here, you could do that, because everything is just data packets being moved across that network. And what we're demonstrating here is that ability of being able to do that, work across codecs, work across different products to demonstrate and get hands-on. So you've got the hands-on feel of, this is an example workflow of a live streaming. So we're live streaming later on today, and we've got that going on LinkedIn Live. We've also got like the gaming rig over there to demonstrate what that workflow would look like. And the reason why we've done that is that a lot of the times when you come to these exhibitions, it's just boxes on tables, and you're asking the system integrator or the technology professional to use their imagination. Oh yeah, this product does this, it does multi-view, does fast switching. But what better way of being able to demonstrate that for them to get hands-on and go, look, when I say that this is all on the same network, you can see NDI working hand-to-hand with Dante AV. You can see another codec working with another codec. You can, once you're able to see that, you don't get these kind of misrepresentations oftentimes that you get from different vendors that you'll go to, because perhaps those vendors have got a reason to tell you otherwise, and it happens all the time. And we're objective about it, because we are consultants. Ultimately, what we have to do is make sure that what we say is, we can demonstrate what we say, and prove what we're doing. And that's why we like to work with vendors that are much more open-minded and working together in this collaboration space to demonstrate their product and not thinking around those walled gardens, that proprietary system. Because often we find that proprietary systems, they inhibit innovation. It's not really, what they really want to do is lock you down to a particular system. But really where we want to get to, any technology professional, they want to get to a situation that everything works nicely together. Wouldn't it be great that it will take me half an hour to set up rather than having all these conflicts that I have to deal with all the time? So that is overall the whole benefit and the reason why we're doing what we're doing. I hope you guys, I was able to kind of convey the two sides of it that are really important in terms of the design, the energy savings of those designs, of the ease of use and the flexibility in those designs, but also the benefits of working together, whether you're working together as different vendors or even working together, with other people, so that you're able to network and communicate to be able to find, solutions. That's about what we're here for, really. Matt, thank you very much for allowing me up here, and thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks.